everybody, Tom Berry here with ILS Capital and ILS Legacy Holdings. So I wanted to give you a quick market update. I know a lot of people out there have been wondering, what are we seeing in the market? What are the changes that we're seeing? What are the changes that we're doing in-house here? And yes, there are a lot of changes going on, so I'm going to just start right into it and say we are seeing a bifurcation in the market, meaning I'm seeing two different stories emerge at the same time, two very opposite stories. So story number one, we're seeing a lot of real estate investors in trouble financially. And these are real estate investors, for the most part, that have done one of two things. Either they're newer in the business and they don't have a lot of experience, and they were just kind of riding that wave of easy money in real estate, low interest rates, and so forth. And now that we are on year 3 of not so easy money and not as low interest rates, they're having challenges and they're finding out that their models don't work. The other group of people that are having challenges are the people that just drank the Kool-Aid. Some of these guys have been in business as long as I have in this industry, but they just started drinking the Kool-Aid and overpaying. And in a frothy market, it's really easy to convince yourself that, well, hey, I have to pay more than typical because I wouldn't be able to get it otherwise. And that's always the justification when people overpay. And those of you that have followed me for years, you know my absolute rule number one is buy it deep. You've got to buy deep. In other words, make sure you have plenty of equity there when you purchase a property so that you have room for something to go wrong. Now, that's something that could go wrong is the market shifts. Things don't sell as quickly. You have more holding costs because it takes longer to sell. It might be you found something else additional that was wrong with the property that you didn't know about when you purchased. But there's a lot of things in real estate that can go wrong. So rule number one is always buy deep. Buy it really deep. And a lot of these guys, they broke that rule. And when you break in rule number one, there are a lot of things that are going to help you. Now, the other story that we're seeing emerge at the same exact time is we're seeing very sophisticated investors that have been around a while. They are starting to get deals like they haven't seen in the last decade. And those guys are killing it right now. And those are the guys that we are focused on for the next year or two. We want more and more of those really experienced, sophisticated investors that we can provide capital to go out there and kill it because they are buying deep. Some of the stories that we're seeing, some of the loans that we're writing are better quality loans to better quality borrowers at lower loan-to-value rates than we have seen in our 10-year history as lenders. So that's the kind of the two stories that are emerging at the same time. So what are we doing here at ILS and what are we doing with our funds? Well, those of you that are invested in our funds, you're going to be very happy. I believe tomorrow you're going to see your statements for last month, and you're going to be very happy with what you see because we've hit an all-time high in the growth fund. I know I'm going to get questions. How is that possible? How are we seeing higher and higher returns on the growth fund in such a challenging market? And the answer is in the last story that I just shared. These investors that are highly sophisticated and they're getting extremely good deals, they don't mind paying a little more to have a good lender that knows their business and is going to be able to perform and going to be able to execute quickly for them. So over the last year or so, we have been able to inch our interest rates up. And as you know, those interest rates or those interest payments go into the growth fund as profit. So as we inch our interest rates up, that benefits everybody in the growth fund. We've been able to do that with the income fund as well, but not to as large a degree because we haven't had the large capital influx in the last couple of years in it that we have had in the growth fund. Trust me when I say, if we had more capital capital influx in the income fund, we would be doing the exact same thing with it, and we'd be able to raise those yields as well. But that's what we're seeing on the capital side and on the fund side. I'll be doing an update video here in the next week or so, going into detail in the numbers for the last quarter and giving a more detailed update in what we're seeing in the lending side of our business, and talking about the pipeline of loans that we have available to us right now. I'm also going to do a video on the life of a loan. In other words, when a loan application comes in, what do we do with it? How do we look at that? And then once we close on that loan, assuming we've chosen to do so, where does that loan go? What does it do? And how does your money as a fund investor come into play? And where does it come into play? Because the one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that when we write a loan, we assume that we're going to keep that loan on our balance sheet for the life of the loan. And if we didn't have more capital come into the fund, or we didn't have a buyer come in to buy the note, that's exactly what would happen. So I'll talk about that and all the different things that we do with those notes as they come in on a future video. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me, tom@ils.cash, and I'm happy to answer them for you. Stay tuned. We'll see you on the next video.